All right, I've got 5:30. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, moving on to item number 3 on the agenda, consideration and approval.
I'd like to add one thing to Councilman's concerns. Under that, City Hall answering phone system.
I also had a request, if we could add 10.6 committee review discussion. Seems we need to do a little assessment on how our committees operate. And then 10.7, since the year is flying by, I'd like to schedule or have a discussion about scheduling employee reviews so that we can get that, have enough time to do all that before the end of the year.
I would like to request that 5 minutes on the agenda.
All right, any further additions, corrections, or modifications? Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next up is public forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to present items to the council that are not on the agenda. Each presentation is limited to 3 minutes, and a maximum of 15 minutes is set aside. If your item needs follow-up, city staff will arrange. Do we have anybody present that would like to step forward to public forum? I will ask again if anybody present would like to step forward for public forum. And I will ask for a third and final time if anybody would like to step forward for public forum. Hearing none, we move on to item number 6.1, Sheriff's update. We do not have a deputy here. Any conversation or discussion from council?
Well, I guess I have one thing, Mayor. I was gonna ask him, and I didn't think he'd be here. I thought he only came to the first of the month meeting, but it is the first of the month.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
What happened to September? Okay, what's going on? Well, anyway, I was thinking the other meeting is what I was thinking. So, but 6th Avenue and 10th Street, that intersection, I'd like to, see if there. I know we've talked about people just running through. The other day, I watched somebody just about get creamed, and a guy was coming from the east or west, going to the east. Didn't even hesitate. Didn't even look hardly. I mean, you kind of out the side of his face, but that was it. And we got to do something about that. Either rumble strips and dug into the road so that it jars his teeth out, or bumps or something, or flashing lights or something. But that is probably the worst intersection in town for people just to ignore the stop signs completely. But it's generally always coming from the east to the west, or the west to the east, because they have pretty good vision of what's coming down the cemetery on 10th and what's coming down 10th. And that gives them what they think the right to just not stop. And so, yes, I don't think extra patrols there will do a damn bit of good. I think we need to put some bumble streets in there, whatever they call it. What do they call it? Great. Very good.
Just to add to your point, I have got a lot of feedback that, again, our deputies seem to be spending a lot of time on the county roads in town and not doing so much for patrols around the neighborhoods. It was observed that they had driven past an establishment 11 times in about an hour. So going back and forth on the same highway. Now, they might have been busy, but it would be nice to see them divert down a residential street from time to time.
Well, I'll get both of these to the sheriff's office.
I was gonna tell him thank you because the other day there was one of the it wasn't an e-bike, it was one without pedals that went flying by our house, and then about 13 seconds later was the sheriff with his lights on going after them. Yeah, but I counted them. I don't know if it was education or a ticket, but it was nice to see.
Well, I noticed one young man that I seen running around town with them. What he does now is he pokes his nose out the end of the driveway, and if he doesn't see anybody coming down this 9th Street, then he goes out in the street, turns around, but he's looking the whole time. So I know he must have been talked to, and he was one of the worst ones. Most of the traffic is stopped, and I think it's because I think they are doing enforcement on that.
Any other follow-up on the sheriff's report? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent items.
I did have a question about this. I saw the update. Looks like things on 10th Street are getting dialed in. But I know that there was some concerns by Mr. Salzer and I think Ms. Severson regarding damaged trees from the project. And I'm just wondering if they were followed up with too, or if we're kind of still working on that.
The Salzers is complete. I'm not sure about the other grass and tree issues. How about that, Greg?
Still on the list. Okay.
As far as consent items, that HRA committee application by Anthony Olson.
He's here tonight?
Is he?
Yeah.
You need to be running the city with all the qualifications you got. I've looked at a lot of applications over the years, but wow. Anyway, no, I 100% endorsement. I think we probably, with all the stuff we got going on with HRA, that would be a very good fit. Welcome aboard as far as my vote.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent items as presented.
All right.
I'll second that.
Motion from Gina, second from Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next we will move on to the whole number 8.1, home occupation. Request for council action.
So, good evening.
Aye.
At the September 24th Planning Commission meeting, commissioners were presented with a home occupation conditional use permit. They made the recommendation to not hold a public hearing as home occupations are seemingly becoming more of a thing. And they approved the conditional use permit as it follows all of the guidelines, and we're here to ask for your approval.
Well, can I make a comment there?
Yes.
Okay. I guess there's going to be more of it, and I noticed even the last few years that I was doing inspections that there's a lot of people working on their houses. That's just the way of life nowadays. But we could have a situation. What would concern me is of getting business that really ramps up the traffic, I guess. Maybe isn't a good fit for the neighborhood. So how are you gonna deal with that? I guess that's my concern.
So according to our ordinance, all conditional use permits need to be presented before planning commission, and planning commission is the one that decides whether we hold a public hearing.
Okay.
They review all the documents, they review all the material. Usually in my review, I will let them know kind of what I think, and anything big or substantial I feel should have a public hearing. But the way our ordinance is written, planning commission is the ultimate decision.
Okay, because I was a little concerned when you said at first that, these are getting pretty common. We don't need hearings anymore, and that's what my concern is. Maybe I heard it wrong. I don't know.
And this, I can give you a little history, Dave. This occupation, there's been 2 other animal grooming facilities that have kind of opened up right around in the same neighborhood. This was a person that wants to open a salon in her front entry of her house. We did not send either of the animal grooming places to public hearing because of the low impact on the traffic. So we kind of used the same logic with this.
Well, and that's so the one that wants to be approved is the Is the beauty shop in the front?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So they've been licensed by the state yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so if they've been licensed by the state, they'll pass that. My only other concern with that one is when my wife built a new beauty shop in 2001, even back in 2001, we had to meet all ADA requirements. So does this place meet ADA requirements?
That I'm,
We don't oversee the ADA compliance. Our ordinance doesn't call that out. It calls out that they are to be required to meet all of state, federal guidelines, so that would be
And I know,
on them to do that.
I know why, Kevin, because we don't have business licensing. And that's one thing we should look at it in the future. I mean, I've seen that for many, many years, that was a mistake, that we should have licensing so that when that happens, the reason that we were required to do all the ADA stuff was because we had full permits to build a new building. So the building had to be built to specs. We built the building, we got a conditional use to operate in the residential area. And so we're not requiring conditional use permits for occupations and.
Yep, this is a conditional
Yeah,
use
okay,
permit.
okay. So we are.
2 questions. You said our ordinance requires us to make sure that they follow state and federal requirements.
It just states that wording.
So if it's found that they're not in compliance with state and federal, who enforces that? Is that us or is that the state and federal?
That I believe would be state and federal. And partially with our official, as there's different parts of the ADA that they oversee and different parts that they don't oversee. So it's kind of a tiered system.
So that's the part that makes me a little bit nervous because I think state and federal usually hand off the buck if they have an opportunity, and if it's not really a solid thing for us, this might be one of those areas where it gets a little bit gray on how things are handled. My second point question is, are we gonna be reviewing the conditional use permit in the future, or is this a once and done thing going forward?
This one will be reviewed annually.
Okay, and we're gonna do that because I know that recently we started reviewing them and we got some pushback on reviewing them. So
Right.
We have a process in place that we're gonna.
Our ordinance calls it out. It's supposed to be reviewed annually.
Okay,
Mhm.
and they know that we're gonna be reviewing it annually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all right.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve CUP resolution 2025-33.
Great, I've got a motion from Gina. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second from Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is a resolution, so we will proceed with our roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Gina,
Yes.
Dan,
Aye.
and I will also vote yes, so that motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tabitha. Next up, we'll move on to new business. 9.1 AFP 1 mail and overlay to City of Pine City.
Morning, or good evening, Mayor, the council.
Hey, you're worse than me.
I know. I was just commenting on the earlier meeting time.
Yeah,
Glad
isn't that
everyone
nice?
sent me a notice, yeah.
Isn't that nice?
So your packets is pay application number 1 for the mill and overlay project. It's largely done. You'll see we did add some work in there via change order 1, which included the sidewalk across from Holiday. We had to mill a little bit of hillside because of the loops for the signal were in there. We couldn't dig up the whole piece there. And then we had them give us a quote to patch the water main hole on 8th, but Lori got a better number, so all they did was saw cut it for us. Altogether, right now, the pay application is $128,836.86 with 5% held for retainage. We're still going to be a little under, even with the additional sidewalk there by Holiday and the wing on the driveway. So, any questions? Otherwise, I'd look for approval to pay up 1.
I'll make a motion. We approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion from Dave. Second from Kyle. All those, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next up, 9.2 8th Avenue sidewalk improvements and railroad crossing.
So at the last meeting, council authorized us to get bids on the 8th Avenue sidewalk and railroad crossing there. We had it out for bid. We had several plan holders. We ended up with only one bid from New Look Contracting in the amount of $138,971 even, which is under my estimate. I did reach out to a few other contractors that were on the plan holders list, even the one that did the mill and overlay project, and they said that the coordination with the railroad gave them a little concern, and the size of the project is super big. New Look is doing the trail south of town, and they're doing some other work in the area. It's up to the council. I wrote the completion date as next June with the thought that most of the work would probably get done in the spring. My concern is if we don't get the sidewalk in before Halloween, it might not cure completely before winter. Busy county road, a lot of salt and sand on there. I'd hate to have that surface of the new walk impacted in the spring. I know we'd like to get it done and in sooner than later, but I put the complete contract documents together with the thought that most of the work would be done in the spring. Also, the flasher would not get, equipment wouldn't come in for that till winter anyway, so that would have to get installed later. So, if the council wants to move ahead again, I had an estimate in last month's project cost. Now we have a number for what that work would cost. If you want to move ahead, I'm comfortable moving ahead with New Look if that's the council's decision, or you want to take another look at it in the spring. I don't know if we'd see appreciably lower numbers or not. I got a couple other ballparks where some of the other guys were, and it's here. I think, New Look's a big company. Dealing with the railroad isn't an issue for them. They have staff in the office to deal with that type of thing, and I think it's just a little firestorm of a lot of things going on in a little project that some people just don't have the staff or don't want to deal with. They just rather do the work. So, any questions?
None from me, council. Any questions from you?
And just to double check, how were we planning on funding this one? I think we had talked about it last time, but
There was this 50-50 split right there.
It beats both accounts.
So what would our half? We want to get their calculator.
Well, you'd probably be about 75 or 80 by the time you include some.
Well, we had, when we talked about it earlier, we talked about maybe looking at property owners too, or somebody around there. I don't know where. Were we talking about the school, or were we talking about nobody participating? Yeah. I know we talked about somebody, but I can't remember who. So that's what I was wondering. Who do you think that? Well, that could be explored too anyway, to see if they have any funding for this type of stuff.
I just mean we're probably going to be making a payment next year, I would think, or we'd making the payment now.
I wouldn't, if they don't do any work, we wouldn't be, may have to pay up till spring.
So I know it's budget time, so it's just something we got to have in our mindset on where it would be coming out of, if we got a plan in place to pay for that, or if it's something that we're going to have a hard talk in the next month or so.
In the budget.
Yeah, and I think we all understand that, but we think the importance of this project and for safety for the tech students and stuff should be prioritized. And this has been a bad intersection for a lot of years, and there's been a lot of people, had close calls there. People have talked to me and other people here in the council. It's a dangerous intersection, and we need to do something about it. So we need to put it in the budget. It doesn't matter whether we have to strip something from somewhere else, but it's going to have to be done.
I'm definitely not opposed to it. It's just our tendency seems to be to try and shuffle the coconuts after we figure out the plan for it. So it'd be nice if we had a specific line item that we didn't have to try and,
And this is gonna involve shuffling coconuts,
Yeah.
budget for it, so.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Someone like to make a motion to continue exploring, to move forward?
I make a motion, we move forward with this project.
All right, I've got,
And I think Greg's right. I don't think you're gonna find anybody, especially dealing with railroad, anybody that's ever dealt with them. And I have. They're okay people, but it isn't ordinary. It's not like doing normal business with, they think they're way above everybody, so. And then some.
So it's a large organization.
It is.
Has a lot.
They have a lot of power in the government, so.
I'll second it just for the discussion. And just to know for the discussionary points, I want to make sure that we're having those conversations on budgeting for it for next year
Right.
and not just falling off of the table. So
All right, I've got a motion and a second to move forward with this project. Is there any further discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we'll move on to 9.3 Pine County Prosecution Agreement, Service Agreement, 2026 and 2027.
Yeah, I reached out to Reese because I saw that our contract was expiring. He forwarded over the 2-year renewal. There's no rate increase. This is him prosecuting, using his services for criminal prosecution. It's a 2-year agreement, no price.
I think it's noted that unless it's changed, they do all like the traffic tickets and stuff done within the city. So they take care of all that stuff. Otherwise, we had to hire that on the outside. And when that decision was made to go that route, it made a lot of sense. And it made, as staff at that time, it made our jobs a whole heck of a lot easier, because otherwise we were dealing with a prosecutor and from this that we had to hire, and they had to deal with the county attorney. So there was a lot of extra conversations going on that cost us a lot more money. This was by far the best deal, and I think it still is.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Pine City County Prosecution Service Agreement for 26 and 27.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion from Kyle, a second from Gina. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next up, 9.4, request for council action, Planning Commission award recipients.
I knew it.
Hello.
Dressed up.
So each year, Planning Commission recognizes business site improvements, newly this year was residential site improvements and a citizen planner. In the past, I was made aware that the city would pay for the meals, and this would all be presented at the chamber banquet. So my question or my ask is if council would want to pay for that going forward, or how?
You tell us that was the process before, was
That was the process before.
Which budget did that come out of?
It comes out of,
Like meals, admin meals, I would assume.
This was my planning
Oh,
meals,
your plan.
my planning meals.
So I like the idea of recognizing people that make improvements. And hopefully we're recognizing them because they wanted to do the improvements, not because the city ordered them to make the improvements.
Correct. I can confirm that none of them this year were.
Which I know has happened in the past. I struggle with the city and the taxpayers paying for a meal ticket for those individuals to go to the event. Especially if you don't have the money to pay for the improvements and you gotta wait, and now you see people using your taxpayer dollars to go to an event that you wanna do, but you can't do. I really struggle with that point. I know it's a small amount, but I'm not sure that using taxpayers to send other individuals to a banquet is in the benefit of the city.
The option would be just to only do it for the actual recipient.
And again, I struggle only because I know that a lot of people want to make improvements, but they cannot afford them. Is that fair? Reward people that have the money to make the improvements and not the people that can't afford it.
And also I think about, they're up for this award, they didn't ask.
Correct.
So they're receiving an award now that we're gonna ask them to now pay for their dinner. So I see that side as well.
Sounds like this should be part of the process when we go through our donation, different categories. This could be added as a category of some type, I don't know. Then the council has a chance to vote and see whether they want to approve it or not.
They have set them out for it.
And what would the auditors say about it? I don't know, Nicole, you have any ideas
Information? I don't know.
on the food part of what they're talking about? You know what we're talking.
Not
Right, so, yeah, well, then you just answered my question, we wouldn't want to put it there. So, yeah, I'd say huddle with your staff and come back with an idea.
I think it's October, so we need to know.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we have to have it in by October.
Then just to buy the one ticket for the person actually receiving the award
Oh.
versus two.
That, or they can be presented at council. I mean, there's,
Oh, yeah, instead of at the chamber.
right, and that was option number 2 was,
What did you tell them that was gonna happen? Did you tell them?
I didn't.
Good girl.
I mean, I guess in my mind, the history that I remember is giving them a plaque and recognizing them during the
Yeah.
council meeting. And we've been doing this every single year where I just missed it
Well,
the last couple of years, or
last year it wasn't done in time to get to the
Banquet.
did you move the curtain a little bit?
last year we didn't get it in time to get to the chamber banquet to be awarded. So
And
that's why we did that council.
that I can say from spending years on planning commission isn't always. I don't want to say it's 50-50 on if we made that deadline of chamber banquet or not, but it's not unheard of that we have missed the chamber banquet deadline.
What's wrong with turning it over to EDA and let them take that out of their funds? I mean, anything wrong with that you can see?
Because they're the planning commission award.
Well, EDA is for economic development and these guys are planning or redoing their places. That's kind of development.
Well, it's kind of, sort of, but it was, you have to read the description of the awards, and they're sponsored by and part of the planning commission and have been.
Yeah, but planning commission doesn't have a budget, EDA does. But that's why I'm mentioning it.
The planner does.
It's coming, she would use a portion of her $500 designated meal line. GL code 100-419-1050331.
But ultimately, it's the taxpayers that are paying for their other individuals to spend money on their projects and get photo ops and awards and ceremonies. Not everybody has those funds. We talk about tightening our belt, and then we send people to a banquet.
I can say I'm personally in favor of it. I think we did an article last year with the league, and they were very excited. They said that we were one of the few cities that's done a program like this, and to show some gratitude to the folks that are fixing up their buildings and are working to improve their facilities. And again, they didn't ask for these awards. They didn't ask for a ticket to the banquet. This is just someone nominated them. So I'm comfortable proceeding for $300. So that's true. Just to throw
So
money.
$50 of that would be whoever council decides for 2 people to go and present these awards as well.
Were these all the people, just the people that were nominated, or were there more people
There
nominated?
was more people that were nominated and planning commission chose these ones. And one of them didn't have a certificate of occupancy. So that one being nominated didn't meet the criteria. You have to have a certificate of occupancy on a business site or residential.
I would make a motion to use your line for meals, travel and lodging to pay for the tickets this year. There's my motion to staff recommendation number 1.
I'll second it for the ability to say something afterwards, so.
All right.
And, I just, this seems like peanuts compared to, we start talking about fixing the streets and, I mean, this isn't nothing, but, they do a justice to the town and help everything look a lot better and it's cleaning up a lot of bad looking buildings, so. I'll back it, but I just think we need to find another way, and I don't know what that is. I wish I agree with Kyle. I don't think it should come out of the coffers of the taxpayers. I really don't. But I think we've gone far enough where we've got the plaques now. We got to do something with them, and they earned them. So let's do it one more year, but let's figure something out here before next year. That's my.
Are there any other comments from council? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to proceed with option 1. which is to approve the city sponsorship of the planning commission for the $300. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed,
Nay.
motion carries.
Did you guys want to choose who would present these awards at that banquet so we can get that?
I'd
as well?
like to suggest that it's the two council members who are members of the planning commission. But if they can't or won't, they can speak now or forever hold your peace. Just kidding.
I can be there. That's not an issue. I had already planned on attending.
I think that's the way historically, the whole council is invited, but historically,
Like I said, I didn't.
yeah.
I can't commit.
Okay.
If you can, if no other council member go, I'd say you.
You're probably going.
Probably not.
I'd
To
say
be
you.
determined.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Tabitha. All right, moving on. 9.5, Resolution 2025-36, authorizing transfer of funds from capital fund.
This is for the loader that was actually purchased and we budgeted for it this year. However, the payment is not due till next year, so we're requesting that this resolution would allow us to move the funds from the capital fund 401 into the debt service fund 319. Make that payment.
So it's still coming out of this year's budget, this year's dollars. Technically, we're just moving it out of one fund into another fund so we can apply it in 2026. Isn't this?
Is that correct? Yes, okay.
I'll make that motion to go ahead to this.
I'll second.
Right, I've got a motion from Dave, a second from Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Resolution, roll call vote. Let's start at the other end this time. Dan? Gina?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
And I will also vote yes, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to old business. Item number 10.1, Gig Fire Water Tower Lease Agreement discussion.
Mr. Howard from Fire is online here. Council had approved the lease agreement. Fire bought out Genesis's previous contract. And for the water tower, as they put up there, and he requested to speak to council regarding the lease we presented. Corey, can you hear us?
Maybe muted or something.
Oh, dang it. We can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today. You probably don't know who GigFire is, so maybe I'll take a second and tell you. My camera got, oh, okay, I see you guys again. So GigFire is based in Clarks Grove, Minnesota. We purchased Genesis Wireless on January 1st and kept their installers and all of their towers and equipment, and we're running those as part of GigFire as of the 1st of January. It's my understanding that we don't have an agreement with Pine City at all. I don't know. We sort of got thrown into this rapidly as Genesis needed to hand this network off. So I didn't see a lease in there, so I don't know if it was a type of handshake agreement or how Genesis was using your structure, but obviously we want to resolve that. And I think we had, Pine City is a pretty decent sized town, even though we don't have a lot of customers there. So when we were asked to propose a lease amount, we went with the highest amount that we pay anywhere. Most of our water tower agreements are, in fact, trade agreements. We give free service in lieu of rent, but some municipalities don't want that. They just want straight rent. So we didn't try to lowball you or anything. $300 a month is the max we pay in any municipality, and it's about 3% of structures that we're on where we do pay rent rather than offering free service. So I just would say that we'd be open to any kind of construct that made sense and allowed us to stay in business. I did check before the meeting, and we have 9 paying customers that receive service today off the water tower directly. And then we have some smaller rural locations that are fed from the water tower that have anywhere between 2 and 5 customers on each. So I just want you guys to get a color on that. You're not dealing with T-Mobile or AT&T here. We're a quite small company, and at least as proposed, like the lease that we were given would not work. Like we'd be underwater, and we obviously are a for-profit business. We have to pay employees and insurance and fuel and all the good stuff you gotta have to be in business. And so I just want to level set that there's, if that's where the council is at, like we're probably not going to be able to continue and offer service in that area. So I'll pause there and let you guys ask questions or tell me anything you'd like me to know.
So, do we have a contract with Genesis?
We did have a contract with Genesis.
And so Corey, your company has taken over for Genesis. Are you saying that Gig Fire didn't do their due diligence and check into lease agreements before they'd taken over the contract in Pine City?
I mean, I think that's probably fair. I mean, I don't know that we tracked every tower, and this is one that was missed. So we didn't know that until we were contacted by Pine City.
Well, to tell you the truth, Corey, I remember when it came up, the transfer, when Genesis was letting us know, because we were doing our annual, wasn't it the annual billing? And I looked at that from the council perspective, and I was really concerned because I looked at the difference between what T-Mobile was charging and what Genesis was paying. And I asked the question because I had no idea what towers go for, and I asked, well, how much antenna usage, or how many antennas or whatever they use up there? Do they have T-Mobile have over what Genesis has? And I think there was a very small difference. Wasn't there like 4 antennas or some darn thing?
Greg actually here because we used Greg to help kind of do a prorate of what services and space was being utilized versus between the two, and this is the amount we came up with. And we researched their Gig Fire's fees, their monthly fees. They're it's the same as what T-Mobile charges. And I also want to know too that back at the beginning of the year, I had been trying to get a hold of Gig Fire for months. And I would leave messages after messages until I finally would say, we're taking your equipment down if you don't call me back. And that got a phone call. So it's been very difficult working with Gig Fire to get this moving along.
So I'm guessing that the Genesis rates are probably more than what is that Corey's being proposing right now, correct? For monthly rates, they're the same. Okay.
Well, what do you mean the same? Well, we don't have anything to do with Genesis anymore. No, no, but the new the contracts that were sent out were to
the rate that
was the new rate. Yes, right, and that's
was that an increase from the old rate?
Yes.
Oh yeah. I guess I have to agree with Councilor Palmer. I think I would have done my homework. I mean, I would have went out and checked out what people were paying and that, and I wouldn't have known that there was such a big difference if I wouldn't have stuck my nose in it and seen that I just couldn't understand why there was such a big difference when I found out there was very little difference in what they were getting off the tower. So I don't know.
I guess my concern overall is that space is a premium on that water tower. We only have so much space we can rent out, and that's a lot of that. There's our sirens for E911. There's T-Mobile's got boosters up there. There's not a whole lot of space left.
Very expensive asset.
And that can provide support for our community. I can see both sides of the story here. I also look at the pricing and see that most of these folks should have availability from other providers that are the same, if not less. testimony this month. And I don't mean to step on anybody's business plans or go one way or the other. I think we need to make sure that we're valuing our assets appropriately as the city.
So what kind of decisions are we looking to make here?
Well, council already approved the contract, and I forwarded it the next day over to Gig Fire and didn't hear back. I think I reached out maybe 3 or 4 times and then still hadn't heard back, and then a technician came and asked for the key, and I actually denied them the key to the water tower because we don't have a contract in place. So, and that's where I immediately got a call that day.
So we currently have their infrastructure up there. I'm guessing that they're currently using that service to the extent of it is. Are we collecting fees currently for that, or?
They do pay the $300. They are current. This new rate was set to go in place October 1st. They have paid the October 300.
Well, not signing the contract.
Council, can I interject for a second, please? I've not been shown a copy of the contract, and I've asked Emily, the owner of Genesis, to provide it to us, and she hasn't. Is that something that you guys could forward to us?
We would have sent it to.
Genesis contract or the new contract we issued?
The Genesis contract. The Genesis contract.
We wouldn't have anything to do with Genesis.
You know,
No, we would have sent the contract to you, Corey.
I think if Genesis wants to share that with them, they could. It's not.
Yeah, that's old business. That's not theirs.
This should have been done as soon as they took ownership. We've been trying to get this done all year.
Greg, you did the study, and it wasn't that big of a difference, or there was a little bit of difference, but there was like 4 less antennas or 4 whatever. I don't know what it.
Prorated based on what the others are providing, seems like a fair thing to do. At the end of the day, it's not necessarily a money maker for the city. It's more about having a contract, requires them to have their stuff inspected by the city. They maintain it, move it within a certain period of time if we have to do maintenance on the tower. So, you're having the right discussion. Are we consistent with the other ones on what we're being paid? Then that's probably what we should do.
Well, we're looking at cost of keeping our water towers up. I don't know, but Warry's got to pull into his bag of tricks and find some cheaper rates. But it's high price. So if we're gonna, obviously it's a big asset to us. So I think if we've done the study and we figured out what the rate was, well, I guess we go with the rate. And if it doesn't work with their business plans, I guess that's what happens.
Do we have other companies or other potential parties that are interested in renting that space on the water tower currently?
I'm not sure. I have to look.
If we had a contract in place, though, we wouldn't be able to just cancel the contract and bring in a different service that wants that space. I can't think easily.
We don't have a contract.
We don't have ever signed and sent it back.
And for me, I know there are 9 people in our city that are using this for their internet. So that, I know it's a small number of people, but there are still people that are utilizing this as their internet provider.
I just really struggle with the fact that it seems like Gig Fire dropped the ball, didn't do their due diligence on their business plan, and are asking the city to forgive them for doing that. And if we do that, what is to stop T-Mobile from coming back to us and saying, well, we want cheaper rates because we didn't do our due diligence that you were going to give cheaper rates to everybody else?
That's what I would
I'm sorry, if you're gonna feel better about putting the hammer down on us, that's fine. I mean, that's the 9 customers. I guess we would ask for some time to let them switch to a different service. But if that's the posture the council's going to take, like, we're not a nonprofit. We're not going to go out of business because of a idea that you're going to charge us the same as T-Mobile. I would be willing to reduce the number of antennas on the tower, though, and we've been doing that. If that's something that's of interest to the council, we certainly could do that as well in conjunction with a lower lease. But if I'm hearing a couple council members kind of dig in their heels, if that's the way you end up going, like, this isn't, we're not going to die on this hill.
Well, I think the decision was just made.
Yeah, but do you need a formal decision from council today, Marcy, or?
His request was for you to consider a reduction, as council as a whole, you already passed the contract as it
We don't need to
stands.
say.
So there's no council direction if you're not
No.
making amendments to it.
All right. Perfect. Any other comments from council? Sounds like at this point in time, we're comfortable staying where the contract was drafted and. moving
So
forward from
I'll
there.
ask respectfully for a copy of the contract that we assumed when we purchased Genesis. You can forward that to my email. I don't want to engage counsel on this. It's not worth your time wasting on attorney's fees or mine. But if you can do that as a courtesy, I want to make sure there's a notice clause. And if they've been paying for service, and there's a notice clause that's in the contract, I want to know what that is. I mean, this should be a public document. There shouldn't be any risk to the council sharing what the agreement is.
I guess the direction I would give staff is to find the contract, have legal review it if we need to, and if they can't make the determination of what he's asking, have legal review it, and then we'll give them an answer, or you'll give them. That's my suggestion.
Perfect. I think that sounds great. Do we need to make a formal? Okay, do you want to make that into a motion? Dave?
I'll make that into a motion, whatever I said.
All right, motion from Dave to look for the contract, provide the contract and go from there.
Provide the contract to the attorney for review and
If
then
they
by their recommendation.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, motion from Dave. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second from Kyle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you.
It's gone.
All right, moving on, 10.2, request to add Fawn Meadows to capital improvement plan.
I was asked, this is actually here, is to have part of our plan, should we get awarded the grant funding for that project, we need to have it as documented as that we intend to move forward with this project. It needs to be on the capital improvement plan, I understand. Should we be awarded that?
So I think this was just the mayor, Dave, and myself, if I recall, at that decision. But one of my biggest concerns was, what does that grant lock us into, and how do we fund that long term? And it seemed like we didn't really have a good idea at the time. We just kind of assumed. And my biggest concern was that this is going to go on the taxpayers, which if we put on the capital plan, that's the taxpayers. I understand funding the project, but it felt like everything was very last minute, and probably shouldn't have been, I don't think. And now here we are saying that, yep, we're gonna put it on the taxpayers.
Well, I agree with 75% of what you said, but I think we still have an out. The bottom line is when whatever project comes up there, we still have the vote. You know, we have the chance to not vote it in the project. So we have an out. I mean, that maybe it won't fit what the council thinks at that time, whatever council that might be, but
That was it was not to exceed 500,000 on a $1.3 million project. So the city would have to fund
850K, I think, if memory serves. 800,000 was the remainder of 1.37 million.
that's if it's not no assessments. That's with no assessments.
if we can assess for it.
Yeah, if we can, right.
So we're gonna put 855,000 on a one-time capital plan for next year. We're planning on breaking this out over 40 years. That's the question. I mean, you're talking about $1 million thing pretty much.
I think regardless of whether we get grant or not, we have to get that road loop. If we're going to finish developing that 111 acres of land that are up there that have been sitting since the recession, I think that we need to get that loop finished so we can move north and the property owners that own that property can move forward with developing.
And I'm definitely more open to the idea now, but again, are we planning on sticking $855,000 on the capital plan for next year? I mean, all of our other projects are split out over years, so.
Well, one, we can't, because the preliminary budget is set.
Right.
And two, my understanding is that the entirety of the money doesn't have, it's not necessarily about the money amount, it's about being on the plan. So if the state was to come through and say, you qualify, you've met everything you need for the $800,000, and we're willing to give you this grant funds, but it's not on your capital plan, so you're disqualified.
So if we put a 0 on the capital plan for all the years across, they're gonna approve it?
As to the best of my knowledge.
I don't know,
Because there can be other ways that you can fund that. You can prove it as regionally significant as a housing project. Because for us to be able to build anything in Fawn Meadows or the Orbis property farther north, this has to be done. And for us looking at building housing, we don't have any places left to build housing. And as we're getting into talking about annexation, we're being advised not to annex in certain directions because we've owned the property for so long and not done anything with it. But that was kind of my understanding of why it needs to be on that plan, is so that we can begin to accept funds for the project and then begin to determine where the remainder of the funding is going to come from over time.
and I believe, I can't say with 100% certainty, I don't believe that it has to be on the cap plan for next year or the year after. They just want to know that that we have intentions of doing this project at some.
But once it's on the capital plan, it's easy to use, to apply taxpayer dollars at some point to it. Again, this was my major concern, is that it seemed like the ability to assess was kind of up in the air. A lot of this might be put right on the taxpayers for a property that we might develop out, but it can stay undeveloped for X number of years. It could be developed the next year in itself and in its entirety, but the concern again is once it's on the capital plan, how easy is it just to start applying taxpayer dollars without any kind of letters of intent, any kind of inquiries? It sounds like all of our developers have kind of been backing out of the project. I've seen projects built and then just stand empty for 30 years. And that's the part that concerns me, because that's a lot of money.
I know there's a lot of interest on it.
I know the market as it exists now, the things that are being built are not sitting in. People can't find places to build fast enough. That's why upzoning is coming online. That's why ADU and DADU and tiny home zoning is coming online, because people are trying to find ways to build lot sizes in a lot of cities that's gotten a lot smaller, so that the definition of homes. So the reason, in my opinion, and this is what I do part-time, but the reason why we don't have more interest is because for the amount of time that land is sat and the lack of interest that has been shown by the city that owns it, there just hasn't been a lot of investment.
So for the sake of the arguments, I'm open to the idea of putting on the capital plan at $0, but I guess I want some kind of commitment that we're going to sit down and start having some meetings on how we're going to fund this and what the long-term plan is, and not just say, well, we're going to wait until the grant and then we're going to put $855,000 on the capital plan spread out over X amount of years. We have a tendency to kick the can down the road. So
It's nice about having, once it's on the plan, it opens up other doors and windows we can apply for grant funding.
Well, and the way that it was purchased and zoned, does it still make sense for the city? That's how we still want to grow that area. Is it time to look at maybe rezoning it for different types of construction that are more appealable to different builders? Because right now I believe it's rural residential zoning, but if we were to go to a managed mixed use or some sort of upzoning where you can do like commercial with residential on top, but we can't open any of those doors until we have it in. And I agree with you 100% that the city is great. We've got great can kick and choose.
I think that's evidence in the fact that this property that's been vacant since 2008 sits as essentially a hayfield at this point.
So I guess if we did move forward with this, what are our controls in place to make sure that we are sitting down and having meetings and the discussions on how to pay for those activities or change the usage? Before we get to the point where we find out maybe if we got accepted to the grant and all of a sudden have to figure out how to fund it last second. I mean, can we set those meetings now or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we do it the second meeting of the month? We can leave it as the whole business. The planning stuff, I
Once I heard that the end of October was when they. I don't know,
When-
grant, but
That
Okay.
sounds
So we
accurate.
Yeah, typically between the 1st and the 31st, in my experience anyway. But to your point, Mr. Palmer, I feel this amongst other things, we need to be better at short-term and long-term planning. So let's build it into our meetings.
So if we're getting an answer at the end of the month, that's not really gonna give us enough time to have it on the second October meeting, correct?
We're good. If
Um,
it's just discussion.
yes, we do have it.
Do
Okay.
you want to bring it up at planning? Would that be a good place to bring up change in use zoning, things like that, or?
and assessments,
It could be.
Planner.
Definitely assessment.
Yeah.
in the planning meetings before the next council meeting.
Planning is the fourth Wednesday, it's the fourth,
Mhm.
fourth Wednesday, so it would be after our next council meeting.
I will make the motion that we put on the capital improvement plan at $0 placeholder. And then have it added to the second meeting of every month under old business to investigate funding opportunities and ask that the planning commission get involved with looking at all possibilities. That's my motion.
I'd second that motion.
All right, I've got a motion from Kyle and a second from Dan. Do I hear any further discussion?
And I think we could use that as we work our way through this, we can use that time and those parameters for searching for grants and funding opportunities for many other things that we need to tackle with.
I like the idea of getting creative with the zoning. Just feel that area could be right for some of that. Try something new.
Good.
All right, I've got a motion from Kyle and a second from Dan. Any further discussion from council? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, next up, 10.3, code enforcement request for council action.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. So we have the code enforcement policy in front of you again. This was tabled back from the September 17th meeting. You requested that the following language be put in place. It is not the intent of the city to immediately pursue administrative citations or criminal charges. The city is committed to working collaboratively with all residents to achieve compliance with the code of ordinances. So we have added that into this policy. Otherwise, it is the same thing we presented last meeting.
So I think this whole process had probably given you a complex. I think it's been pretty well whittled down, and I like the language. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion that we approve.
I'll second Kyle's motion.
Beat me to it.
All right, I've got a motion from Kyle to approve and a second from Gina. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you
Thank you,
both
guys.
for
Go get
getting
it.
that to the finish line.
That's the third time's a charm.
You got it.
All right, next up is 10.4 truck routes request for council action.
So this came up quite a while ago, this, ordinance, it was talked about at Public Works. And I know at one point, I know they had said they didn't think they said they didn't feel that they needed, the signage would work. It was talked about, it was talked about at ordinance, it was talked about at planning. And just trying to eliminate the big heavy trucks just peeling down 13th to 6th to 10th and running through our residential areas. We have received many complaints, which are quite often with these. Most people don't do them in a formal data request. It's more of a, hey, we got to stop this, or I know we've heard from council as well. So this was the ordinance that was gone through, rewritten. We had Greg review it as well, just to verify the weight limits of our city roads. We do have trucks that are on our city roads that are over 6 tons per axle. So we're just,
So what about signage? You said something about signage.
signage would have to be done by Public Works. And direction from council, I'm assuming an approval of them specific roads, but if we put these signs up and we don't have an ordinance, we don't have an enforcement. We have no way to say, hey, you can't be there, because all we have is a sign there.
So one question I had, under where the provisions of this code do not apply to the following vehicles, it says trucks belonging to construction companies when engaging in the construction for resident or developer. I mean, how do we know that this isn't gonna be abused and say they get stopped and they're asked where they're going and they just say, well, I'm gonna drop off concrete for a patio or something? What's in our placeholder to follow up and make sure that they're actually going to that resident, not just driving through for convenience?
So if they're going to pour a pad at their house, it's required for a building permit or a zoning permit. Most of our activities like that do require some type of permit.
And those
So
contractors are gonna have a copy of that permits, or that's gonna be our process to verify that this company is subcontracting for another developer?
Yep. It's kind of, I mean, if they're driving on these roads and if they're delivering for a contractor, or we're gonna have a permit of some sort. We are gonna be able to go, yes, they're supposed to be there, or no, they're not.
I guess the part I'm getting at is if they don't have a copy of the permit that they're required to have, what's to stop them from saying they are working out there, they're engaged to go to that neighborhood or drive through that neighborhood. They get caught, they're just cutting a shortcut, and they have no documentation on them to prove that they're actually going to that resident and not just driving through.
If they don't have the documentation, or they can't give the property address, the property name, even an officer would be able to contact the city, and it's all documented. All that stuff is documented. You have a permit at this address, this driver is going here, going there. And if we don't have anything of that sort, now they're out of compliance with our code anyway.
And how many of our ordinances currently are being enforced by the police?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think by having the signage and having this on the books, it'll be more of a complaint driven to stop. Some of it'll be, we'll see a certain truck going down a certain street all the time because they're taking a shortcut, and we could, it'll come back to somebody who it is. They're going to be a phone call, and I think that's all that we needed to take care of it. So I think a lot of it will resolve itself.
What's the penalty for violation of this ordinance?
It's a moving violation, so
It would be a moving violation,
a moving violation.
I have a question
which
about,
would be done by the police if they're policing.
Yeah.
What's nice about this though, I like that it's giving the residents the ability to call the company, whether it's whatever business it is. As a resident, call, make a complaint to the company, something can be done because I have the right.
Yeah.
Right.
is there a way to communicate with our map systems and let them know that truck route is different than the shortcut, so when someone maps it out, it takes them around the city, not through the city?
I believe so. There is a way to do it. I haven't gotten that far
Because that will help
on that
too, I
yet.
think, because there's probably some offenders that just are following the map.
Mhm.
So if we have this designated, maybe that'll eliminate some.
Right. And I mean, there was talks at Public Works, signage on all the exit ramps,
Mhm.
truck routes enforced, and the signage will guide or truck routes enforced on residential, whatever they do.
Well, I made this
I think
comment
that
before, Gina, but it was basically, I was a Teamster truck driver for years. And we were told, you go on, don't go on, if you go on truck routes that you're not supposed to, you're gonna get fired. So a lot of it's gonna be handled just because people know that if a sign says there's designated truck routes, you better darn well find out which ones are which, or don't drive on. So I think a lot of the issues will be solved with that.
And then I'm wondering about our garbage trucks. Are they,
They're allowed.
They're allowed.
Mhm.
okay,
This also gives people the opportunity to get a picture of a DOT number or a business number and be able to report that.
Yeah, it's just gotten out of control. I mean, it was bad for years, but it's the last 2 years has been horrible.
Right. Well, and like I said, the truck, I mean, this ordinance is small. It's not elaborate. It's not, I mean,
Yeah.
some of the ones that we looked at, holy moly, them were some
But
pretty
again,
big ones.
they get the business number, they call the company, and the company can either choose to do something about it or not. If they report it to the police and the police decide to not do anything, like a lot of our complaints, what's actually gonna change?
Well, I don't know if I would say change is the right statement. I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna see less trucks going down there just because a lot of it'll be taken care of just by the signs being there. I think it's gonna take care of itself.
Trying to change the culture.
Yeah, you gotta change the culture. We're gonna have more trouble with the local contractors than we are with anybody else. But you won't have any trouble, I guarantee, with union truck. You will not have trouble.
And I mean, if something isn't done and it gets reported to the city,
Yeah.
we'll still follow our code enforcement policy.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll get a letter and then if it happens,
I think we need to go slow. I think we should,
yes.
the first year, absolutely no citations. Education is the important thing, and it's gonna take a lot of it, because we don't even have the signs up.
Right.
And we'll figure out, as Public Works Committee, we'll figure out where we think the sign should be and what type of signs. There's a barrel full of them to pick from. And I've seen a lot of them in a lot of other communities, and I think do a little more investigation to find out what works and what don't work. And we can, Greg, I'm sure, has some ideas on that too. So what's everybody putting in the ground? I guess that's
I'll make the motion that we approve ordinance 2025-12. With the addition that it's reviewed by ordinance and council on every even year to see if it's being followed or needs to be adjusted
a good idea.
at a council meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, I've got a motion from Kyle and a second from Dave. We're accepting the ordinance, but reviewing it every other year
Every even year.
excuse me, to review for changes and compliance. That covered it, Kyle.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion from council members?
Give me a second.
Second from Dave. Thank you. This is an ordinance and that must be a roll call if I'm correct. Yes. We'll start with Kyle this time.
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Gina?
yes.
Dan? And I will also vote yes. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. All right, next up, 10.5, future annexation discussion.
This was requested to be on by a council member. To start the discussion on this for
This wasn't me for once, so don't look at it.
Well, I did take a cue from you though. I guess that you had brought it up many other times. I think there is I think what I'd like to see, and that's why I wanted it on there, is a session just to talk about that. We've had future planning maps and use maps that we've looked at and stuff. And I think we all know which way the city's going, or what's left to go. And I think there could be some advantages to certain areas. I want to make it real clear. My effort is not to capture tax base. It's to capture land to develop. And we've got some situations around Pine City with certain land that's, it's not gonna be anything other than what it is now or similar. So we're probably limited. But I think, you know, all these ideas and all these, any type of discussion that has to do with anything of taking some type of area from another jurisdiction needs to be done delicately, and I don't think it needs to be taken lightly. I think it can be very controversial and it can be very uncontroversial if it's done properly. I think we need to start. So I'd like to see, you know, we're talking about short-term and long-term planning. Maybe the first discussion could be during one of those sessions, and just to see where we need to go next. And I've got some ideas on that I'd rather just wait and say at that time.
You don't need to wait, Dave. We've litigated this as we're doing the comprehensive plan. Spent quite a bit of time at planning commission talking about coming up with the future annexation map that made the comprehensive plan. So why not just use that as a map? I agree with you, buildable, but I also think that capturing tax base is part of the reason why you do annexation. It does need to be done delicately, but the conversation is ongoing, and I think it's just time to move it to the next phase.
In some respects, I think we're maybe even what's proposed might be too small. I think we got to go bigger. Would I like to see us get to the other side is 35? Yes. As far as infrastructure goes, I think staying on the east side of 35 would be easier. I do want to make it clear that we're not just going to try and snatch up all the lake properties. I want to go wider than that because I do think there's a lot of developable land out that way that's not a swamp. But I, in some cases, think that we're just not going big enough with our plan.
And that might be part of the discussion when we talk about it first time as a council. That's why I'm kind of thinking we really, I think, keep it from getting misunderstood. I don't know if I'm searching for the right word, but is to have a closed session and talk about it. We can't have a closed session, but have a work session to talk about it. I think it would make more sense to everybody put out their ideas of what they think that their visions are. And I know Dan, the planning committee or the comprehensive plan has all that in it. Do I agree with all of it? No. And whether you do or not, I don't know.
Well, we voted.
Yeah. Well, I'm not exactly sure if I voted that one on in or not, but the bottom line is that you can vote for something doesn't mean you have to 100% agree with it.
I do think we have to take a hard look at what we're going to pick up and when we're going to pick up, because I think historically we've either purchased the worst property ever to develop or we've been given the worst properties ever to develop. As part of our discussion today, I think we need to be able to develop some more better land, grow the area. But I think we also need to look at what we have to offer those areas that we annex in the city limits. I don't think that's really been well drawn out either, because if we have more things to offer them, I think people are going to be more interested in joining us if it's the right move. Some people have a huge fear of what happens. I think we also have to look at the island properties that we have surrounding or isolated areas that we have. You have to go through city limits in order to get to township areas. So,
And vice versa. We go through some townships to get to cities.
exactly.
And so some of this needs to be straightened out.
So we do it as a combo work session and then do a closed session about real estate.
I don't know.
I thought closed sessions can be held, but
Property. I don't know about the annexation.
No, I'm saying we could start the meeting open with the work session to talk about annexation and then go into a closed session to talk about some of the real estate things that we've been wanting to talk about.
sounds a good idea.
Not that they're the same or have anything to do with each other, but if we're gonna have a special meeting.
Good idea.
What day are you going to pick out?
Are you making
Second
that
Tuesday of next week.
Well, I thought we were going to do that during the next or the middle of the month. I don't know, in October. I thought we were gonna take a month.
What's our second Wednesday of the month look like?
Third.
Oh, no. Whenever we're third month for.
Wednesdays don't ever work for me.
We're the fourth Wednesday. I am so screwed up on this month.
Fourth Wednesday is planning commission. We step about that first.
It might not hurt to talk about in planning. How's the fifth Thursday or Wednesday of the month looking?
There is 5 Wednesdays there.
I have nothing that week on my calendar.
That sounds good to me.
29. 29.
What are we calling that?
Special council meeting for looking at, or to start the discussion on annexation and then also have a closed session and talk about real estate
Real
opportunities.
estate.
We have real estate purchases in our budget.
No. I think that would be something that you would have a plan in place for 2026, but if you're setting a budget in 2025 or 26, might need to have that information. Perfect. So does, I guess,
What time?
July 30 work again, or
Fine with me.
keep them consistent?
All right, any further discussion on 10.5?
Is there gonna be availability in this building, or do we have to set that for the fire hall? Okay.
Okay. Well, it's good to have the, we have all the.
All right, okay. Any further discussion, council? Hearing none, we'll move on to 10.6, committee review discussion.
So it's come up that it seems like the committees are starting to battle or maybe exceed their charter or starting even to exceed their authority. And there's also concerns that the guidelines for term limits are not being followed. And we have kind of renewing members that we should probably look at. I do know that there's interest of new blood on those committees, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of opportunities. So I think that needs to be reviewed. But I think we also need to look at the committees themselves, if they're following their charter, their plan guidelines, because it's starting to feel like a bunch of little committees are kind of writing their own show, their own little kingdoms, and trying to armchair general the other committees. And I think we need to step back and do a review of that.
We've already, working on this, getting accurate, the terms, and then the policies that go with it, the bylaws are accurate. We can have that on the next.
Yeah. Are we also gonna add in there, are we gonna leave it up to having a quorum at each of those committees? Are we gonna review that at council? Does it make sense to have the committees? Cause it seems like sometimes all the council wants to be present for those committee meetings. So we're having kind of impromptu council meetings at committee meetings. Does that make sense for us to have those subjects there? Or should we just be talking about them at council level?
I think it's important to have it at the committee level. I think it's important sometimes. I've asked to have several of them quorum just because I'm interested in what's happening and what the discussion is, just so I can have as much information as possible to make the best decision that I can.
And that's where I'm concerned, because I think that there's a lot of discussions being made that maybe not all the council members can attend and get that information. And then you're relying on certain council members to give you that information at the council meeting or bring back the specialist to present again, doubling up on the process. The other thing I've seen is just individuals that participate in the committee meetings shut down when the council starts debating each other in committee meetings. I'm just worried about how our committees are being used and that we need to step back and reevaluate how we're using them.
Right. Any further comments from council on 10.6? Right, hearing none, we will move on to 10.7, employee review.
I think we need to start this process in either October or November, especially if we're setting the budget. I know the request or what was in the budget was 10% increase for employees. And I guess I'd like to have a review for that in 2025 as to why that's justified or not justified.
That, to clarify though, that was never a request. It was done because of something that happened last year wasn't correctly budgeted. So this was, but I agree, and Monday, that to get this process going and have the first and second meeting, have that in November, we would have this done, so it would be done before December. So
But I'd like the reviews to be done, at least some kind of review with the council as well, because I remember the reviewing stuff in January and maybe goals were set for some and not for all, and things were never followed up. And I want to have those discussions this year and not wait it and drawn out. I think we need to have reviews with the council and non-employees in 2025. So are we gonna put it on the agenda for November, December? December gets really busy with everything.
no, like I just said, we're gonna have them on the first of November, so they're done.
Yeah.
In December, so when we have to set the final budget, everything will be accurate this year, because last year was not.
Are you gonna have enough time to do those reviews in a closed session after those? I'm guessing it's a closed session after those meetings. Turn into a 6-hour meeting?
No, that's why it's being split between two.
I guess I'm just looking, we have at least 8 non-union members right now. Employees, possibly 9. If you even set them aside at 45 minutes or a half hour, how long is the review gonna take on top of a 2-hour council meeting?
In my review, it took like 5 minutes.
Are we ordering pizza then, or?
Are you, we don't give, the council doesn't give the job review.
Maybe we should.
Well, I mean, I feel, yeah,
And I bring it before.
then you come to us and, yeah, I mean, I think that's,
We do hers.
so we don't have to do that's not, I mean.
We sprinkled in, we did have a meeting January this year that we did for the 2024 reviews. And we sprinkled some extra things at the council level that we would like to see from their performance and things like that in there, but
Yeah, to her.
they were primarily done.
Which will be helpful for this year's review, because council did set.
No, we did it to the department heads, not to the city.
Which will be a good baseline for reviews for this year, because goals were set. That's good. Reviews for this year.
Yeah, I look forward to November. One by one at a time, 4 of us.
A long day. If we can sprinkle them in after every meeting between now and December, I think that would be helpful.
I would only request as much notice as to who's gonna be when, so that I can, just for me personally, I can have my stuff put together, be prepared.
Makes sense.
Perfect. All
And
right.
24 hours is usually enough time. I prefer 48 hours.
All right. Any further follow-up on 10.7? Hearing none, we'll move on to department reports. Any comments on the department reports?
Thank you, everybody, for what you do.
Thank you.
Been busy.
I finally listened to one of Adam's radio things today. That was pretty interesting. They had a member of the Hinckley Fire Department there. And they were both had very good conversation, very good questions. From Josh Miranda, who interviewed you. I thought it went really well, and I was pleased with what I was hearing. So hope people were listening, because I think you gave them a lot of good advice. Good job. I don't know. I think he's got a career though. I'm in the radio business. I don't know. He's got to say a few jokes. He's too serious at times. That's why
I was told I got a good face for radio.
Maybe that was it. Okay. Thanks, Ed. That was good.
All right, let's move on to committee reports. Item number 12. Starting us off with the Pine City Hinkley Sandstone Fire discussion.
Well, we talked about that at our last. We've already given an update on that, but our next meeting is the 29th, 30th, somewhere in. But I don't have.
October 30th is the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Right. Yeah, the next one is on the 30th.
I wasn't able to. I was sick that day, so I wasn't able to attend.
Right. The next one is coming up on the 30th.
End of the month. Yep, and it's at 7 p.m. always.
Right, and
Hinkley Fire Department.
and we're guaranteed that we'd be out of there.
We typically always close exactly
9 o'clock. That's kind of the rule. Get out of there at 9. Not too bad.
Perfect. All right, Township Fire District Study.
Well, we had. I don't think we talked about this one last.
9. No, because we had our council meeting.
Oh,
and I
okay.
couldn't get there in time, so.
Oh, that's right. We had.
You weren't there either, I don't. You?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I made it after.
You did?
Yeah, I made it. Yeah, I made it. Same, we're working with this consultant, that we hired, Charles Smith. It's Triad Paragon, whatever how it's pronounced. And he's the one that's doing the study, and he's done most of the interviews with city people, the fire department, the counselors, and then all the townships and cities that were involved with this fire district talk. And so he's in that process. He also has been collecting a lot of data on how many trucks, how much hose, how many people. It's all the basic stuff that he needs to know, and mileage and times, response times, and all that stuff. So he's working on that. We get a monthly report, which is good, of where he's at and what he's doing. We're probably 6 months or more out before we're going to hear anything as far as the final report, and then we have time to decide, or talk about things, whatever he recommends. And like I said, in the end, we're going to find out, well, is there an idea, or do we find some ways we can improve just from the study? So there's a lot of positives that should come out of this. And that's pretty much that. The next one, I can't remember.
Next one is Civic Center.
Oh, no, that next committee, yeah, that's mine too, I think. What night was that? I'm willing to, because I could only stay for 3/4 or half of their meeting, which is 9 o'clock, and they start at 8 o'clock at night, and they go until 11, 12, whatever they feel like. So I'm willing to give that spot up next year when we go through our committee reports. I can't stay awake that long. It's just too much.
It's Sunday night still.
Oh, yeah, it's always on Sunday night. Oh, whatever. They've been doing this for 25, 30 years. I don't know how they get away with it. Other ways given, but I think maybe they're all addicted to hockey too. They're in the midst of a lot of different stuff going on. The Civic Center got a $500,000 grant, which has to be spent by the end of 2026. So there's a dilemma. We got the ALC there. What do we do? Or what is this? What does the ALC do? There's nowhere to go. And even if they could go somewhere, stuff has to be put together before they could be there. So there's a lot of decisions by a lot of different councils and boards that have to be accomplished. The Civic Center had a special meeting here, not too, a week or so ago. And we talked about, what some options, and so I know there was some contract talks to keep the ALC there for a period of time. I know there was some talks for up to 5 years. I don't know if that's gone anywhere or not, because I wasn't in any of the talks after that. So they've got a lot of decisions to make as far as the school district, as far as the Civic Center. The problem is, the work has to be done, and it's really hard to do anything if you've got a major part of what you want to do is where the ALC is. And because that building was originally built as locker rooms, and now it's being used as classrooms, and it works pretty good for them because it's right across from the school district themselves. So I know they were, I believe, and I don't quote me on this either, but I think the school district was going to reach out with an RFP to see if someone else had another location that they could go to. I don't know if that ever happened. I never heard from, or I don't follow the school board that close. So that was one possibility, and maybe somebody's got some location, but they really are pleased with being so close to the school, because that way the kids can walk. They have a crosswalk and everything's safe, and they can walk across there. So it works good for them. I think there's some thoughts on the Civic Center board to continue with this and get as much of the grant stuff done as they can get done. So I don't know, but there's a lot of work to be done there, and upgrades, and it's a good organization, a bunch of hardworking people that really believe in their cause, and are not afraid to work hard to get it. So I applaud them for that. I think that's about all I got for that one.
Perfect. Next up is EDA. I can take EDA. That was a pretty short and sweet meeting. There was some budget discussion and some discussion about CDs that were maturing that we were going to roll, and discussion on how we wanted to roll the CDs forward for the next coming year. And that's pretty much all I can remember, unless you can remember something that I'm missing, Dan.
Nope.
All right. Next up, Planning Commission. That was the home occupation we approved earlier this evening. Planning Commission Award, Site Improvement Awards. And discussion on the truck routes and some CUP reviews. That's about all I'm seeing from that too, unless again I'm missing something.
We're missing liquor here, aren't we?
We are missing liquor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't think
Well-
Laura cared if
Well, I
that's reporting.
had put my notes here so I wouldn't forget that one, and then I looked and it was not. That's fine. So, Planning Commission done?
Planning Commission's done. Next up, Public Works.
Where are we at? That's mine. Oh, that's Kyle.
We talked about the water tower maintenance in the next coming years, whether we fund it outright or that we spread it out over a number of years, going through a company that does maintenance. One of the things that they were suggesting is that the council put it out for RFP to get options on both directions, to see what we have. It might make sense to fund it outright, or it might make sense to spread it out over time. We'll have to see what the RFPs come back with. We talked about the truck routes enforcement, and I guess how we're going to plan it out. We would like, or Public Works would like to see a map of kind of where those areas are that are identified for the truck route. Maybe there's areas that make a little more sense or not sense in other areas, so they just would like to see a map of the truck route. The public art did come up. The concern was more so on the hydrants. It was one of the places that they touched base on. Having them repainted to like cows or different colorations or something is a concern, since colors do have a representation typically in a lot of cities for fire services. So it is something that the Public Works would still like to see either the council or consider having that as an ordinance that it couldn't change. Everybody's under the understanding that the council made their decision to move forward with the crosswalk. So that wasn't in debate. It was just more so they still want to protect the fire hydrants out there and are asking that the council considers that kind of that half a loaf kind of thing. I think that it was mentioned. We talked about the snow plowing policy. The consensus is that it's perfect and there's no way that we can improve anything. And then after that, it kind of digressed into argument. And I'm just at the point where I'm not going to waste my time with Public Works. I'm just going to spend my time making the policies at the council level, because asking for improvements isn't going to happen unless it's ordered by the council.
Right. And Dave, did you want to give us an update on the liquor committee?
Several things, but the first thing we talked about was the city hive, and I will let Laura explain. I'm not very IT tech.
You can just order your liquor online and pick it up. She's very close to launching that.
Next Monday, she's gonna go live Monday.
Okay. She talked about Labor Day sales. She talked about
DoorDash. Don't forget DoorDash.
Did you talk about DoorDash? A little bit, yeah. But that will coordinate with the hive. What else did we talk
I think it's just a different way of what people do, you know, and you know, we see it now with everybody ordering their groceries from Walmart online. Now we're watching it.
Have you done your test yet? Okay.
Monday is.
Okay. She talked about testing it before she made it public, sorry.
And the air conditioner, we're waiting on that, I guess, because probably can get better pricing than that. Most of it, we don't need to spend the money right now in this budget, so.
Never get better pricing on the air conditioner than in the winter.
They don't send it to, they don't sell as fast. But that was pretty much it. You got something to add, Mara?
Right, thank you, everybody. We'll move on to item number 13, Mayor's Report. Just a quick reminder of the Capital Investment Committee visiting our sewer ponds for the $7 million that we asked for upgrades and maintenance. They'll be here October 7th at 10:30.
No.
10.
We only are.
When you're meeting them where?
Meeting at Public Works Building, and then zipping over to the ponds. Received about 11 questions on the house. Got all of them answered right away except for 2. Got them answered today because Ellers had to jump in and help with that. We've got some different just putting together under course, and so we'll have that needed out so they remember us.
Perfect, thank you. Next, we'll just move on to council concerns. The whole phone system.
Well, I've had people, constituents, I'll just leave it at that. I'm not gonna name people's names. Call me and say, is City Hall closed today? No, that's not gonna say why. I'm calling and nobody answers. And so this has been going on for a few weeks. I've been on and off, I get calls. And so I tried it a few weeks ago. Yeah, there was a couple times I had to ring 5-6 times and somebody answered. There was one time nobody answered. And today I called over there, nobody answered. I don't remember the exact time, but it's on my phone.
Yeah, you let me know what
It went through, and how does that, does the phone cycle and then it starts over again? Because there's always like a hesitation.
it used to ring and then now it cycles. So I would like to know like the number you called and then the time.
Oh, I called the regular City Hall number.
I called like 2 seconds.
1051.
You called back? I did. I tried to call back twice.
Well, I don't, I'm there. I mean, my phone would ring if I was there. I mean, you call, but maybe there's something wrong with the connection, but it was at 1051.
One, it's City Hall and your Public Works.
Well, I did. I hung up the phone and I called again. Maybe you called me when I was talking. Now I'm going to try 2 just to see if Lisa would answer, and she answered right away.
No, I didn't try calling you. From what I saw this morning, Melanie's line was ringing, and then your name popped up on my phone, and you had hung up Friday. I had asked her, she went running to her office. I said, Dave Hill, I think, just tried calling you, but it was to my direct line. It wasn't like the main.
Yeah, but I called the regular fancy number. It's been on my phone for years. The 25 whatever. That's the same number that I've had on there. I haven't changed it in 30 years, probably, or 40 years.
It would be nice if you call City Hall, if City Hall can say City of Pine City and possibly the name of the person that they're speaking to. Most companies that you call, they'll answer the company that you're calling to. There is a lot of times where people call and it's just hello. So, if the number is out of service, oh yes, I have called a few times too, and it's just hello.
No, I always say Pine City Marshall.
I don't know. It's hard for me to tell somebody, oh, you don't know what you're doing, because I don't know if I'm something wrong with my equipment. I don't. Mobile phone. I don't.
This is good. Good to know.
I mean, it went through today. They went through 2 rounds before I finally just hung up and called Lisa just to find out if there was something wrong with the whole system. I don't want maybe the system down.
Okay.
And it wasn't. So I don't know. I'm just concerned because then it's hard for me to tell somebody, well, you must have something wrong or you're dialing the wrong number when I'm trying to, it doesn't work for me. So, you know, if I want to get a hold of I've got a couple of your personal cell phones, and I would call you if it was life or death or something that had to be taken care of. But as far as this, this is just, I'd rather not. I'd rather just go to the system because you might be busy or whatever, and you don't need me to bother you on the phones. Anyway, just bringing it up.
Maybe we can have our new, once we get some discuss IT RFPs, maybe that can be the first project that our new IT person.
Are we doing on that?
We're due with the
Closes Friday.
3rd.
Oh, okay.
Next meeting, I'm gonna be busy.
All right. Any other follow up from council members? None. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second. From Kyle. A second from Dan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
It used to be a store like that. I think there still is in the milk bin.
Or, yeah, they're all over. Every corner, that's like the only gas station you ever see.
In Virginia. There's not.